So Joe Biden tweeted out the totality of sanctions is crushing the Russian economy. The ruble has lost more than half its value. The list of private businesses leaving Russia is growing by the day. We are really crushing them and hurting them. A rising inflation has left plenty of American families struggling. But top consumer companies in the United States have increased their profits by $151 billion at their expense, including food, energy, commodities, healthcare, shelter. They have hiked prices while collectively increasing their profits $150 billion, according to analysis by a watchdog group. Across nearly every single industry that is measured for price changes, we're seeing highly profitable corporations demand more money for consumer staples that families depend on without a good reason why. There you go. So inflation is on purpose. It's not because of some outside influence. It's because of the inside influence of monopolies and corporatists and capitalists inside the United States who own our government. You no longer live in a democracy. We live in an oligarchy owned by a handful of billionaires and their corporations.
You know, the more I see tweets like this and hear propaganda being spread by mainstream media, the more it enrages me. And the more I wonder, does this guy really know what's going on? Is he really standing there screaming about the sanctions and how they are destroying the Russian economy? While at the same time, inflation in our own country is flying off the handle. We can't get control of our own border. And every day, anyone who has any argument against the war in Russia, they find a new name to call you. And it was kind of cute at first, but it's getting old really quick as gas, food, and commodity prices continue to skyrocket. And we're going to go back and look and see how we got into this mess in the first place, the warning signs that came up, and we're going to talk about a couple other things when we come back for the intro. So, before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
cue the speeder. This is the way.
Ape Nation, real quick before we get started, I want to apologize for last night's live stream. I had some lag issues going on and other technical difficulties that, you know, the Massalorian's always dealing with. And also, just in case you don't know, today is Sunday, March 20th, 2022. This inflation problem started way before Vladimir Putin decided to invade Ukraine based off a coup that the United States decided to throw back in 2014. But I want you to listen carefully to what Jen Psaki says, because she is telling a half-truth in this statement. Watch.
You may have noticed this week that your gas prices have gone up. I want to talk to you a little bit about why. A lot of it has to do with Vladimir Putin, and there's opportunities to produce more from here. But part of this is on the oil companies. Right now, there are 9,000 approved unused permits that oil and gas companies could tap into now to ramp up production. That's why the president has been so focused on investing in clean energy technologies, so that we can rely on that and not President Putin to set the price of gas.
So in the past 24 hours, it's really opened up my eyes to see that there's a lot more going on here behind the scenes when it comes to inflation, that these companies are jacking up prices on purpose, but the underlying root causes have never changed. And this was predicted way before the administration came into power, way before Putin decided to invade Ukraine. And if you don't believe me, watch.
And it's an incredible thing that it's happened over the last few years, a lot of great things, and you're paying, what, $2 a gallon for your gasoline? That's okay. You know what that's like? That's like a tax cut. That's bigger than a tax cut. If Biden got in, you'd be paying $7, $8, $9. Didn't they say, get rid of your car?
Prices at some local gas stations, they're way above the average. Well, across the street from the Beverly Center, one of the most expensive places in LA, drivers are paying this, nearly $7 for regular unleaded, nearly $8 for premium. Drivers said they were surprised and not in a good way.
Okay, so we all know gas prices are completely out of control right now, along with other things. The question is, how did we get to this place and how do we fix it? And if you want to get a very detailed understanding of what's going on, we got to turn back the clock to the fall of 2019 and what happened when the Fed decided to step in and bail out the banks again. And you may be saying, Massalorian, what do you mean the banks didn't get bailed out? Well, not technically, maybe not on paper, but they sure got a big boost back in 2019.
The month after Biden became president, the supply of U.S. dollars in circulation increased more than it ever had before in a single month. And then it kept going higher, month after month after month, as the administration and the Congress kept the money taps open. And that's why we have historic inflation now, because they printed too much money. It's not complicated. But it's not the whole story. It did not start with Joe Biden, to be fair. In the months after the 2008 financial crisis, the Federal Reserve assumed emergency powers to respond to the financial collapse. Now, if you're noticing a theme here, the people in charge giving themselves emergency powers in the face of a crisis they created, you may be onto something. But in any case, after 2008, the Fed dropped interest rates to near zero and then began printing money. This was supposed to save our economy. And maybe it would have saved the economy if it had ended at some point. But it did not end. It went on to the present day. That's nearly 14 years. And in the process, what was designed to save our economy destroyed our economy.
So just to be clear, the Fed has been in bed with Wall Street since 2008, likely from before, but really in the last 14 years, they have been working overtime to pump money and stimulate the economy and the market itself. And even though it started back in 2008, immediately following the market crash, it has continued and actually ramped up and accelerated. And this article here from CNBC from October 22nd of 2019 gives you a good explanation of what was going on back then. Worries grow over the Fed's efforts to fix funding issues. This is all likely to get much worse. The key points here, it says Federal Reserve officials have been working feverishly to address issues that popped up more than a month ago in the overnight bank lending market. JP Morgan Chase analysts, among others, worry that recent additional hiccups in overnight lending are symptoms of bigger problems that will grow worse as the year comes to a close. And the article continues, while the effort has worked fairly well so far, meaning we haven't seen the repercussions yet of printing too much money, rates rose last week, though not nearly as much as in mid-September. Finance professionals fear that the market problems are not fixed and funding issues can happen again. It says the repo market has been drugged into submission by the Fed. This is a guy, Jim Bianco from Bianco Research. That's fine for a while, but what I'm getting concerned about is that they are not figuring out a way to get off of the drug and get it back to normal. And that will be a big problem longer term for them. Investors have long complained about the Fed hand-holding the market, injecting trillions of dollars in liquidity. Rather than looking to goose the economy back to health, the Fed is now using its own balance sheet to make sure banks have enough reserves and an adequate amount of capital is flowing through the system to keep things running efficiently. The effort also is aimed at keeping the Fed's own overnight funds rate within the 25 basis point target range it employs. So this was a mess, guys. Everything leading up to this point, they had failed repeatedly over and over again. And this is them trying to step in and put a Band-Aid on a mortal wound. Now, if I didn't get across the message that I'm trying to with that explanation, maybe this will help.
Several times over the years, wiser heads at the Fed talked about dropping the emergency measures and reintroducing reality into the American economy, reintroducing market forces. Remember those? But each time they contemplated this, Wall Street revolted in very public ways. Wage growth in the productive economy had stalled, but the market for private jets was booming. So asset inflation became the basis of wealth for many people at the top end. Buy things, then sell them for more. Make nothing. Now, no society can continue like that for very long because it's not inherently productive. It's a shell game. But ours did for more than 14 years. And in the process, this country became more lopsided economically than it's ever been. Fewer people owning more of everything. The Fed was fully aware of this. They're not stupid. They knew they were causing these trends and that most of these trends were dangerous and bad for America. But the truth is, nobody could stop it. So when you reach a state as we are now, you really have only two options. You can pretend it's not happening, or you can blame someone else for it. And the White House is trying both. Here's Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen trying the first.
we really protected most Americans from severe financial crisis consequences of the pandemic so that they're by and large in good financial shape, poised to spend enough to continue propelling solid growth in the U.S. economy. And we're seeing that in the labor market.
Now, you wonder as you stare into a camera and say something like that, if you imagine, if you can convince yourself there's a single human being who believes you, things are great, you should be grateful for our wise stewardship of your economy. Keep in mind the woman you just heard, Janet Yellen, was the chair of the Federal Reserve for 4 years. So not to be technical about it, but if anyone is culpable for the disaster we're living through now, it would be Janet Yellen. So she knows she's lying. And she's not even lying very effectively because, once again, Americans understand the state of the economy because they live within it. They pay for things. So if you're going to lie about its cause, you're going to have to do better than just pretending it's not going on. You're going to have to blame somebody else.
A lot of it has to do with Vladimir Putin.
So I think you guys get the point. Janet Yellen was in charge of the Fed back when all this was going on, and now she is the U.S. Treasury Secretary. It's a revolving door in D.C., up on Capitol Hill. It always has been, and these people are corrupt. They have been partying with our money way too long, and now we are feeling the effects of that. And guys, I'll leave you with this. I know inflation is horrible. No one's enjoying themselves right now. But if there's any small sliver of hope that we can get out of this video and the Fed and inflation, is that possibly it could trigger some type of unknown catalyst that can get our MOAS started with AMC. And when it comes down to it at the end of the day, that's what I'm banking on. I know you guys are too, at least most of you. And maybe a little bit of pain and suffering right now is going to pay off huge dividends for us very soon. All right, I'm going to let you get out of here, guys. It's Sunday. As always, thank you to everyone who's supporting this community and this channel. All of my viewers, my commenters, my likers, my new subscribers, my OGs. I appreciate each and every one of you. We are here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.